Cyrodiil may be the heart of the Empire, but beneath its marble cities and orderly streets lie institutions older than the White Gold Tower itself. Some protect the realm, others tear at its foundations. In the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, factions are living parts of the world, each with deep histories, ancient rivalries, and divine purpose. This is the lore behind each of them. Fair warning, from here on in, we get very spoiler heavy, so if you don't want any of Oblivion's faction storylines ruined, I'd recommend maybe watching one of my other videos until you've gotten up to speed. But anyways, let's get into it. The Fighters Guild in Cyrodiil is a legally sanctioned organisation tasked with providing martial services to the public, protection, enforcement, and mercenary work. But unlike freelance sellswords, the guild operates under the Imperial Guild Charter, which enforces a code of conduct, standardises payment, and prevents unsanctioned violence. Its members are expected to uphold honour, loyalty, and discipline. In return, they receive protection from the law, access to training, and contracts distributed through official guild halls across the province. The guild was originally founded during the Second Era as the Sifim, a military labour force established by the potentate G.O.A.T. It was a strategic move to control and legitimise private martial labour during the chaotic years following the dissolution of the Second Empire. Over time, the Sifim evolved into the Fighters Guild and became a staple institution in every imperial province. In Cyrodiil, its headquarters is located in Coral, with other branches operating in all major cities. Each hall is led by a guild steward and overseen regionally by high-ranking members. At the time of Oblivion, the guild is under the command of Velena Danton, a veteran warrior known for her rigid sense of justice and old-school values. But this era of stability is under threat. The guild faces growing competition from a rogue group known as the Blackwood Company. This unaffiliated mercenary outfit operates in southern Cyrodiil, mainly in Leyawiin and surrounding regions. Unlike the guild, they don't answer to the Empire. Their members are brutal, efficient, and unbound by ethics. Their edge in combat comes from a disturbing source, a narcotic derived from hissed sap, harvested from sentient trees native to Black Marsh. The substance enhances aggression, dulls pain, and produces violent hallucinations, turning ordinary fighters into remorseless killers. The guild's leadership struggles with this threat. While some members push for modernization and direct confrontation, others, like Velena Danton, refuse to compromise their principles. The conflict creates a rift within the organization. The growing body count and moral ambiguity surrounding the Blackwood Company mark a turning point. It's not just a rivalry, it's a question of survival and identity. By the time the player rises through the ranks, the guild stands at a crossroads. Does it remain a bastion of honourable service, or adapt to a more ruthless modern reality? The choices made in this storyline reflect deeper tensions within Cyrodiilic society, where the line between lawful force and unchecked violence continues to blur. The Mages Guild is the central authority on magical practice in Cyrodiil. Founded by the Altmer Archmage Venus Galerian during the First Era, it was established to bring order to the chaotic and dangerous world of independent sorcerers, hedge wizards, and rogue mages. The guild's mission is simple: to regulate, research, and responsibly practice magic throughout the Empire. By the time of Oblivion, it holds near total control over legal magical instruction, enchanting, alchemical sales, and spell creation. Guild halls are present in every major city, and each specialises in a particular school or discipline. Anvil focuses on restoration, Skingrad on destruction, Bravil on illusion, and so on. The central seat of power lies within the Arcane University, a sprawling campus in the Imperial City's Green Emperor Way district. Access to its resources is strictly limited to full guild members who pass a series of recommendation tests from each local hall. At the top of the organisation sits Archmage Hannibal Traven, a former head of the Anvil Guildhall. Unlike many of his predecessors, Traven is a reformer. He has enacted a controversial and sweeping ban on necromancy, previously tolerated under guild regulation. This decision split the guild internally. While many provincial mages support the ban, Others viewed it as a political move, one that drove powerful necromancers underground rather than eliminating them. One of those driven underground was Mannimarco, the so-called King of Worms. A figure of myth and reality, Mannimarco was once a contemporary of Vanus Galerion. But where Galerion sought to legitimize magic, Mannimarco embraced its darkest aspects. He achieved a form of lichdom and claims leadership over a secretive order known as the Order of the Black Worm. These necromancers infiltrate guild halls, assassinate loyal members, and wage a shadow war to dismantle Travan's reforms. This ideological conflict defines the state of the guild during Oblivion. While outwardly functioning as a respected imperial institution, the Mage's Guild is under siege from within. Travan's hardline stance forces players into a pivotal role, investigating disappearances, purging infiltrators, and ultimately confronting Mannimarco himself. Unlike the Warrior's Honor Code or the Assassin's Tenets, the Mage's Guild operates on institutional power and control. It is bureaucracy mixed with arcane tradition. Access is gated, authority is centralized, and magic is not a right, but a privilege dispensed by those at the top. In a world shaped by Daedra, ancient Ayleid ruins, and magical relics, the guild stands as both gatekeeper and target. By the end of the questline, the King of Worms is dead, or at least his current form is destroyed. Travan sacrifices himself in an act of magical defiance, and the player inherits his role as Archmage. But with necromancy forced underground and the Arcane University's neutrality in question, the guild's future remains uncertain. The Dark Brotherhood is a secretive guild of assassins operating throughout Tamriel, though its strongest presence during the events of Oblivion lies in Cyrodiil. The Brotherhood is not just a collection of contract killers, it is a religious order, worshipping the void god Sithis and his mortal bride, the Night Mother. Every killing, every ritual, is an offering to the Dread Father, and the Brotherhood believes itself chosen to enact his will upon the mortal world. The organisation is highly structured. At its core is the Black Hand, a council of 5 senior members, 4 speakers, and 1 listener. The listener communes directly with the Night Mother, receiving names of people to be assassinated through dark rituals. Each speaker oversees 1 or more sanctuaries, hidden compounds where lower-ranked assassins, called Silencers, and brothers or sisters live and train. Cyrodiil's primary sanctuary is located beneath Cheydinhal, hidden behind a magically sealed door that requires a specific phrase to enter. Sanguine, my brother. Within, the player meets a cast of killers bound not just by profession, but by faith. Members such as Vicente Valtieri, a vampire, Ochiva, an Argonian loyalist, and Lucien Lachance, a high-ranking speaker, reflect the diversity and fanaticism of the Brotherhood. Contracts come through a sacred ritual known as the Black Sacrament. A would-be client performs a dark rite, offering body parts, candles, and a whispered prayer to Sithis to summon an assassin. Once the ritual is recognized, the Brotherhood responds. But the Brotherhood is in decline. Trust is fragile. Morale is weakening. And as the player rises through the ranks, a series of internal betrayals and murders begin to unravel the entire structure. Members of the Black Hand are assassinated one by one, and suspicion poisons the organization from within. Central to this collapse is Mathieu Bellamont, a traitor who infiltrates the Black Hand to avenge the murder of his mother by the Brotherhood years prior. Through manipulation and assassination, Bellamont eliminates key leaders and seeks to replace the listener himself. In the process, Lucien Lachance, one of the few loyalists, becomes a scapegoat and is executed by his own peers. Eventually, the player uncovers the deception. Bellamont is slain, and the Night Mother reveals herself directly to the listener's successor, the player. In an unprecedented event, she appoints the player as the new listener of the Dark Brotherhood, revitalizing the Broken Order. The Brotherhood's lore is steeped in contradictions, organized yet chaotic, bound by rules but beholden to a cosmic void. Its history traces back to a splintering of the Morag Tong, a legal assassins guild from Morrowind. Where the Tong served the tribunal god Mephala, The Brotherhood chose Sithis, a far more nihilistic deity. The Cheydinhal Sanctuary remains, but the future of the Brotherhood now rests in the hands of a listener chosen not by tradition, but by divine intervention. The Thieves Guild in Cyrodiil is an underground organisation specialising in stealth, smuggling, pickpocketing and burglary. Unlike random bandits or freelance criminals, its members operate under a strict code of conduct and a loose, decentralised hierarchy. The Guild's primary goal is not chaos, but control, ensuring that theft remains a regulated, profitable enterprise while avoiding unnecessary attention from Imperial law enforcement. Membership is by invitation only. Prospective thieves must prove themselves through whispered opportunities and minor jobs passed along by street-level informants called doyens. The guild operates in the shadows of the Imperial City, though its influence reaches across Cyrodiil. Safe houses, fences, and information brokers form a web of support for active members. At the top of this elusive hierarchy is the legendary Grey Fox, a masked figure who is more rumour than man. His identity is unknown, his presence unverified, and his authority unquestioned. The Grey Fox issues directives indirectly, passing commands through his lieutenants and maintaining the mystique of leadership. According to legend, he wears the Cowl of Nocturnal, a Daedric artifact said to grant supernatural stealth and leadership abilities, but cursed to erase the wearer's identity from history. The guild's divine patron is Nocturnal, Daedric Prince of Night and Shadows. Worship is subtle. There are no temples, no sermons, but her influence shapes the guild's founding principles. No murder, no unnecessary violence, and a focus on cunning over force. These rules are strictly enforced. Killing during jobs can result in expulsion, and betrayal is punished by exile, or worse. The guild's central conflict involves the Imperial Watch, specifically Hieronymus Lex, a zealous guard captain obsessed with capturing the Grey Fox. Lex's crusade disrupts guild operations and forces the organisation to counteract through misinformation, bribery, and political manipulation. As the player proves their worth, they are entrusted with increasingly dangerous and symbolic heists, robbing counts, retrieving sacred relics, and ultimately performing the ultimate heist, breaking into the Elder Scrolls library in the Imperial Palace to steal one of the Elder Scrolls themselves. This act, unprecedented in the guild's history, is not just about treasure, it's about reclaiming the identity of the Grey Fox. It's revealed that the Grey Fox is Count Corvus Umbernox, once ruler of Anvil. After donning the Cowl of Nocturnal, his name was erased from mortal memory, even from those who loved him. The player's success in retrieving an Elder Scroll allows him to rewrite the curse and restore Corvus's identity. In doing so, the player becomes the new Grey Fox, inheriting the title and the cowl. The Arena, located in the Arena district of the Imperial City, is one of the oldest sanctioned institutions of bloodsport in the Empire. It exists as both a form of entertainment and a proving ground for warriors across Cyrodiil. Every week, citizens gather to witness brutal, one-on-one combat between fighters seeking fame, fortune, and glory. Unlike the guilds, the arena is not a path of honour or secrecy. It is pure spectacle, openly endorsed by the Imperial government. The arena's history stretches back to the early days of the Septim Empire, possibly even earlier, drawing on traditions from Colovian military duels and gladiatorial rites imported from Akavir. Over time, the institution was formalised into an organised league. Matches are held under strict rules, with referees, betting systems, and public records of combatants and their ranks. The current arena is managed by Owen, a grizzled and cynical veteran who trains and evaluates new fighters. Combatants begin as pit dogs, the lowest rank, and must survive a series of deadly matches to ascend the ladder. Each victory brings gold, reputation, and the promise of greater challenge. Fighters who reach the top are granted the title of Grand Champion, a living legend in the eyes of the public. The reigning Grand Champion at the time of Oblivion is Agranak Gro Malog, a formidable orc known as the Grey Prince. Born of a noblewoman and allegedly a vampire father, Agranak rose to fame through sheer combat prowess. Despite his public image, he harbours deep personal conflict about his heritage and legitimacy. His storyline culminates in a revelation about his father's true identity, an Ayleid vampire warlord, which shakes his faith and can lead him to either beg for a merciful death or fall in honourable combat. The arena also maintains a unique status among the factions of Cyrodiil. It is one of the few places where killing is legal, so long as it takes place within the bloodied sands of the combat ring. Fighters are protected by Imperial sanction, and wagers on matches are common, making the arena both a sporting venue and a financial enterprise. Participation is entirely voluntary, and unlike the Fighters Guild, there is no oath of service or loyalty. Success is measured only by victory. Glory, not morality, defines the arena's culture. For many, it is the only path out of poverty or obscurity. For others, it is a stage where violence becomes legend. The arena's lore is relatively self-contained, but serves as a cultural reflection of imperial values: valor, strength, public order, and sanctioned violence. While other factions navigate politics, divine will, or shadowy rituals, the arena offers a raw, unfiltered look at the Empire's appetite for combat and its willingness to turn bloodshed into a form of state-sponsored entertainment. The Knights of the Nine are a restored holy order dedicated to the worship of the 8 divines, centered around the relics of Pelinal Whitestrake and the legendary Crusaders' relics. Their history begins in the early First Era, following Pelinal's violent campaign against the Ayleids, a crusade sanctioned by the gods themselves. After his death, his sacred relics were scattered across Cyrodiil, each retaining divine power linked to a specific virtue. Centuries later, these relics became the foundation of the Knights of the Nine, an order founded by Sir Amiel Lannis, a noble knight who sought to bring the relics together under one righteous cause. His goal was to defend the faith and uphold the virtues represented by each piece: humility, wisdom, valor, and others aligned with the 9 divines. The order was headquartered at the Priory of the Nine, located in the West Weald. However, the order fell into ruin after a great dishonour. One of its knights committed a grave sin, violating the principles of the divines. As a result, the gods withdrew their blessing. The relics were lost once again, and the priory was abandoned, its chapel desecrated, and its tombs sealed. During the events of the Knights of the Nine expansion, the player becomes the catalyst for the Order's restoration. Prompted by a prophetic dream and a growing Daedric threat, the player sets out to recover each of the lost Crusaders' relics, scattered across ancient ruins, shrines, and forgotten crypts. Each relic is tied to a test of virtue. Success demands not just strength, but moral integrity. The threat comes in the form of Umaril the Unfeathered, an ancient Ayleid sorcerer king and enemy of Pelinal Whitestrake. Umaril was defeated in the First Era, but not destroyed. His soul remained bound to the plains of Oblivion through Daedric pacts, allowing him to return in spirit centuries later. Now, he wages war against the Divines by leading an army of Aurorans to desecrate their chapels and murder their priests. Once all relics are recovered and the player's virtue proven, the spirit of Sir Amiel acknowledges the reformation of the Order. The priory is rebuilt, and knights from across the land are called to join. The player leads the reborn Knights of the Nine against Umaril, ultimately facing him not only in the mortal realm but in ethereal combat, using divine magic to sever his connection to Oblivion permanently. The Knights of the Nine reflect a different kind of faction, rooted in faith and redemption, not politics or secrecy. Their history is one of failure and restoration, emphasizing the role of personal virtue in a world filled with moral ambiguity. Though their presence is smaller in scale, their lore connects deeply to the mythic history of Cyrodiil and the divine structure of the Empire itself. The Blades are the sworn protectors of the Emperor of Tamriel. Their roots trace back to the Akaviri Dragon Guard, a warrior order from the Second Era who initially arrived as invaders from Akavir. After their defeat, they pledged loyalty to Raymond Cyrodiil, impressed by his dragonborn status and divine mandate. Over centuries, the Dragon Guard evolved into the Blades, trading their Akaviri culture for imperial secrecy, but retaining their discipline, loyalty, and martial skill. By the time of Oblivion, the Blades operate as a secretive intelligence and protection agency, tasked with guarding the Septim bloodline and collecting information throughout the Empire. Though no longer publicly visible, they are embedded in all levels of society, disguised as merchants, scholars, or travellers, ready to defend the Dragonborn bloodline at any cost. Their main stronghold is Cloud Ruler Temple, located in the Gerald Mountains near Bruma. This fortress, carved into stone and guarded by ancient dragon motifs, serves as both a sanctuary and headquarters for the Order. Within its halls, the Blades train, plan, and watch over the affairs of the Empire. The ancient walls bear the names of every Blade who has ever served, etched in stone in eternal remembrance. In Oblivion, the Order is led by Grandmaster Joffrey, a monk who disguises his leadership role under the robes of the Order of Talos. Following the assassination of Emperor Uriel Septim VII and the deaths of his heirs, the Blades initiate an emergency effort to locate and protect the last surviving heir, Martin Septim, an illegitimate son raised in secrecy. Martin's protection and ascension become the Blades' central focus. The player, once a stranger, is inducted into the Blades after proving loyalty and valor. This initiates a chain of events that revives the Blades' original purpose, Guardians of the Dragonborn. While their numbers are diminished and their political influence fading, the Blades remain bound by ancient oaths. Each member carries a katana, a relic of their Akaviri heritage, and pledges lifelong service to the Septim bloodline. In their eyes, duty supersedes identity. Many Blades die anonymously, protecting secrets, serving in silence, and watching over a world that will never know their names. Though not a joinable faction in the same sense as others, the Blades' lore is foundational to the events of Oblivion. They represent the last vestige of an older empire, an institution built on prophecy, legacy, and silent guardianship. As the Oblivion crisis unfolds, the Blades stand as the final wall between mortal realms and total destruction. In the end, Oblivion's factions function as more than questlines. They're embedded in the history, politics, and belief systems of Cyrodiil. Each one reveals a different part of Tamriel's structure, legal, spiritual, or subversive, and together they give the world its shape. Thanks for watching this video and for your support. If you want to get early access to my videos, you can help the channel grow by joining my Patreon or right here on YouTube. And if joining isn't possible right now, you can always sub, like this video, and leave a comment below